Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're going deep on something pretty critical, I think, for success. Emotional intelligence, or EI.
EI,
You know how people talk about being book smart?
right?
Well, EI is like being people smart. And for this deep dive, we've got research papers, articles, even some real-life stories to really help us understand EI.
Nice.
Like what it is, why it matters, and how we can all get better at it.
I love it.
And to help us break it all down, we have with us an amazing expert who is like a detective of feelings,
No.
uncovering the secrets of emotional intelligence.
Well, what's really fascinating about emotional intelligence is that it's not just about being emotional.
Right.
It's about understanding your feelings and other people's feelings and using those feelings in a smart way.
Yeah,
Imagine it like having this superpower that helps you kind of navigate all of life's ups and downs.
I love that as superpower.
Yeah.
Well, one of our sources called it smart skills, which I think is perfect.
It's like you can be super smart in school, but if you can't understand your own emotions,
Right,
it can be tough to succeed in life.
for sure.
So let's say you're having a really bad day, but you have an important meeting.
Okay.
Someone with high EI would be able to say, okay, I'm feeling frustrated, but I need to focus on this meeting.
Right.
They wouldn't let their bad mood ruin things.
Totally. That's a great example of self-awareness, which is the first building block of EI.
Okay.
It's all about knowing yourself, your strengths, your weaknesses, your triggers, what makes you tick.
You know, I've noticed that people who lack self-awareness can be really tough to work with.
Yeah.
They might not realize how their actions affect others.
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever experienced that?
Absolutely. And you know what's funny?
Brett.
A study found that 95% of people think they're self-aware,
Wow.
but only 10 to 15% actually are.
Oh, wow.
It's like thinking you're a great singer when you actually sound like a howling dog.
That's crazy. So, what are the other pieces of this EI puzzle? Well, after self-awareness comes self-management.
Okay.
Think of it as like being the captain of your own emotions. You don't let your feelings control. You control them.
Right.
It's about thinking before you act and staying calm, even when things get really tough.
That makes me think of like someone who can stay cool under pressure,
Yeah.
like a surgeon in the middle of a complicated operation.
Totally.
They can't freak out, you know?
Yeah.
They have to manage their emotions and stay focused.
Exactly. And then there's social awareness, which is basically empathy.
Hmm.
It's like having the sixth sense that helps you understand what other people are feeling, even if they don't say it out loud.
So it's not just about noticing that someone is sad, but really understanding why they might be feeling that way.
Right. It's about seeing things from their point of view and really understanding their perspective.
Okay.
And finally, we have relationship management. This is where all the other components kind of come together. It's about building strong, healthy relationships, communicating clearly, and knowing how to work with others to solve problems.
It sounds like all four of these components are important for success
Yeah.
in any area of life, whether it's at work at home or even just with friends.
Yeah, absolutely.
It really does feel like you've got this toolbox full of skills that help you navigate all kinds of situations.
Right.
But how does EI actually play out in the real world,
Yeah.
especially at work?
Well, one of our sources talked about a study
Okay.
that showed employees with high EI tend to be better at their jobs.
Interesting.
They're better at communicating, making decisions, adapting to change.
That makes sense. If you can understand your own emotions
Yeah.
and the emotions of your colleagues, you're probably going to be a better team player
Right.
and get more done.
Exactly. And it's not just about individual performance. Teams with high EI tend to have a more positive
Okay.
and supportive work environment.
Like a good vibe.
Yeah, it's like having a group of friends working together. Everyone feels comfortable sharing ideas and helping each other out.
That's really interesting. Our sources also mention how EI can make leaders more effective.
Absolutely. Leaders with high EI are often better at inspiring and motivating their teams. They create a culture where people feel valued and respected.
One of the articles we read actually talked about how a company CEO used empathy
Yeah.
to turn things around.
Interesting.
They were facing some tough times, and instead of just barking orders,
Right.
this CEO took the time to listen to their employees and understand their concerns.
That's a great example of how empathy can create this ripple effect.
Yeah,
When leaders show empathy, it encourages others to do the same,
totally.
creating a more compassionate and understanding work environment.
Okay, so we've seen how EI can help individuals, teams, and even entire companies.
Right.
But this begs the question, can EI actually be learned? or are we just stuck with whatever level we're born with?
That's a great question. And the good news is that EI is like a muscle you can train. It's not something you're just born with. It takes effort and practice,
Right.
but you can definitely get better at it over time.
That's encouraging. Our listeners are probably wondering, okay, so how do I start working out this EI muscle?
Yeah.
What are some practical things people can do?
Well, one of the sources had this great analogy they called developing EI a lifelong workout for your emotional muscles.
I love that.
And one exercise you can try is journaling.
Mm.
Spend a few minutes each day writing down your thoughts and feelings.
Okay.
It can really help you become more aware of your emotional patterns and how they affect your behavior.
Like becoming a scientist.
Yeah,
Studying your own emotions.
totally.
And speaking of learning, our sources also mentioned the importance of seeking feedback from others.
Yes, it can be hard to see our blind spots.
Right.
So asking for honest feedback from people we trust can be really helpful. They can give us insights into how we come across to others and where we might need to improve.
It's like having a personal coach
Totally.
for your emotions.
Yeah.
And of course, practice makes perfect.
Right.
We need to actively use our EI skills
Yeah.
in everyday situations.
Absolutely. And one of the best ways to do that is by becoming a better listener. When we really listen to someone, we're not just hearing their words, but we're also paying attention to their tone of voice, their body language, their emotions.
Yeah.
It's like being a detective trying to piece together all the clues
Right.
to understand what they're really saying.
I'm definitely guilty of not always being the best listener. I get distracted or start thinking about what I'm going to say next.
Yeah,
But this makes me realize how important it is to really focus on the other person
for sure.
and try to understand their perspective.
It's something we can all work on. And the amazing thing is the more we practice these EI skills,
Yeah,
the easier they become. It's like learning to ride a bike.
right.
At first it's wobbly and scary,
Mhm.
but eventually it becomes second nature.
Yeah, it's like we're all on this journey of becoming more emotionally intelligent.
Right.
And the more we practice, the smoother the ride becomes.
Totally.
But it's not just about us.
Yeah.
Developing our EI can also have a positive impact on the people around us.
Exactly. It's like when you learn a new game or skill, you naturally want to share it with your friends.
Right.
When we get better at understanding and managing our own emotions, we can also help others to do the same.
One of the sources even talked about becoming feelings mentors.
Oh,
Like we can help guide others on their emotional journey.
I love that idea.
Yeah.
Imagine a world where everyone is more aware of their feelings and able to express them in healthy ways.
That would be amazing.
Conflicts could be resolved more easily, relationships would be stronger, and everyone would feel more understood and supported.
That sounds like a pretty amazing world.
It does.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into emotional intelligence,
Okay.
I want to leave our listeners with a challenge.
A challenge.
Think about one small step you can take today to start flexing those EI muscles.
Okay.
Maybe it's paying closer attention to your own emotions, asking a friend for feedback, or practicing active listening.
Right.
Even small steps can make a big difference over time.
Absolutely. And remember, it's a journey, not a race.
Mm-hmm.
Be patient with yourself, celebrate your progress, and keep learning.
Right.
The more you invest in your emotional intelligence, the richer and more rewarding your life will become.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the fascinating world of emotional intelligence.
It was my pleasure.
We hope you've learned some valuable insights and are feeling inspired to start developing your own people smarts. Until next time, keep exploring, keep growing, and keep diving deep.